I was a little bit frustrated watching the Vikings in this game, but was my takeaway. That was my big picture kind of thought when I wrap this thing up, is that I just have this sinking feeling that I'm going to watch this offense all year and I'm going to be consistently wanting more. And it's for a few different reasons, but that was my prevailing emotion when I was done with this game. How did you feel after watching the Vikings win that game?
Similar to you, the very last note that I left that game with was, for all that, we're still talking about a 3-point win against the Saints.
Saints team
Like
with
that
Andy
that was
Dalton,
kind of
with
where
no Michael Thomas, no
yes,
Alvin
like I
Kamara,
and
all
not
that.
a very good run game, like for all of that. And I tried to look at it as optimistically as possible. And there were definitely some things to feel good about. But in the end, to have still been in a one possession game with a not good Saints offense on the other side, I definitely feel the exact same way that you do. That this is just going to be a weekly recurring thing for a team that's probably going to win 11 games or so. And I'm going to feel very disappointed almost every time I turn them on.
There were two kind of pillars of why I felt that way, in my opinion, after watching that game. One, some blown opportunities. 3rd and 1, he has Munt wide open on a play action, a little slide down near the goal line. Ball was dropped.
Yep.
Thielen was also wide open on that play. Could have gone to either one of them. 4th and 1 from inside the 5, they kick a field goal, which was a little bit frustrating to me. And Kevin O'Connell has, I think, had some pretty good 4th down decisions earlier in the season, so I thought that was a little bit surprising.
Mhm.
Some weird clock management stuff near the
Yes.
end of the half. The
Yes.
ball with about 54 seconds left. Jefferson catches short little completion. They run off 30 seconds, even though they had 3 timeouts, end up having to kick a field goal there. And Jefferson also dirted Cousins dirts like a throw with a 4-man rush after the Jefferson completion. That was the other thing that I was frustrated by in this game. I shouldn't be at this point. I should know what Kirk Cousins is at this stage of my life. But when I watch him play, any bit of a crumbling pocket or anything that gets muddy or anything that changes with what is in front of him, and it's over. He
Yes.
cannot create anything. And that's okay when everything is perfect, because it can look pretty good. He looks good throwing the ball. It's aesthetically pleasing. He has a very good arm. But
Yes.
anytime something about that tends to deteriorate, he can't create anything on his own. And that is where there are a lot of places where this exists, but that is the biggest gap between him and the really, really good guys. And when I was watching that game yesterday, I was just so struck by the fact that he is not one of the really, really good quarterbacks, even if he's perfectly fine.
Yep. I mean, so I it's funny how aligned you are on this. And I hate to say this, far be it for me to criticize somebody for their fear of contact, because God knows I'm not taking on any of these guys in the pocket. But I threw a question to some of my colleagues, and I was like, "Is there anybody who looks more afraid of being hit before contact comes at quarterback than Kirk Cousins?" And I don't know who else you would put up there. That's something that stands out to me, especially against the Saints team that has bigger body guys that are pocket pushers, where you're going to be contacted. You might not always get
Yes.
lit up, but you are probably going to take some kind of glancing blow as you're delivering the football. And I think that kind of informs some of the ways that I was feeling about this passing offense in general, right? You open up week 1 with all the explosive offense to Justin Jefferson. Basically, they were doing what the Rams did with Matthew Stafford to open the year, right? And then you get a couple of new data points where you can't get the same kind of explosive offense. And then I'm watching this game and I'm like, okay, there's heavier personnel whenever you want to go outside zone. And then anytime you want to pass the ball, it's shotgun and condensed. Where in God's name have I seen this before? I was like, oh, O'Connell's running the Jared Goff offense for this guy now. I was like, now this makes so much sense. All of this makes so much more sense. And the funny thing with it is that I was actually kind of pleased because of how much it loosened up Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. I thought there was a lot of great stuff designed to get them the ball on screens, on drags. And that first drive, I believe it was an opening drive. They got Jefferson out of the backfield on a choice route, little stuff like that. It's like, okay, I can see that you definitely made a concerted effort to try to find as many ways to get these guys back into rhythm early as possible. I thought there were good screens to their backs, Madison and the Cook. And then, like I said, with Thielen on those crossing routes and moving him around, I thought that all of that was pretty effective. But to the point of being dissatisfied, there's still just not enough explosiveness. And because there's not a big time explosiveness in the run game either, this leaves me just wanting more every time I watch this team leave the field on drives that don't end in scores.
Yeah, and we are very aligned on this because I had the same sort of set of notes early in the game. Jefferson in the backfield, really nice. Really, they had a beautiful idea. Just 2nd and 4, 5:08 left in the first quarter. They go empty out
Mhm.
of 21 personnel. They have quads to one side, so a single
Yep.
receiver to the other side, and they run a little just a little crossing route for Thielen against a linebacker. Just like pressing a lot of buttons that you want to see pressed in this game by design. A lot of just high lows
Mhm.
with Jefferson and Thielen coming over the middle. A lot of guys that were running open in this game. The problem is when guys aren't running open, they're going to have no offense because he
They
is
have
never
nothing.
going to create something that isn't there. And
Yes.
so they're going to be successful. They're going to be efficient. I think they're going to be a pretty good team, but I'm just concerned about when anything starts to fade or diminish what that ends up looking like because this offense isn't perfect. If it was perfect all the
Right.
time, then it wouldn't end up mattering. But the offensive line still has questions to me, right? I mean, there were a bunch of moments in this game where the pocket is crumbling pretty quickly. The Ezra Cleveland had some pretty rough
Yes.
moments against Marcus Davenport in this game. The right guard, who is a rookie, hasn't had stretches of really clean play for the first 3 weeks of the season. There are going to be plenty of moments when he is going to have to make something happen when things aren't clean, and he just doesn't have an ability to do that. So I think there are going to be plenty of situations where guys are open because of the design of the offense, but when they're not,
Yep.
it's going to look really bad really fast because that's what happens when Kirk Cousins is your quarterback.